Welcome to the Night Shadows channel. Get ready to dive into a new horror story. Put on your headphones, turn off the lights, and let your mind wander through the darkest corners of imagination. But before we begin, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of our daily stories. Now, take a deep breath and step into the story, if you dare. Then we must split into groups, Elda suggested, her voice steady and commanding. Each group will search different parts of the woods, seeking signs of the darkness, its manifestations, its movements. Knowledge is our greatest weapon. The villagers exchanged determined glances, the fear that had once gripped them now transformed into a sense of purpose. Clara felt a surge of hope but knew the path ahead would be fraught with peril. As they organized themselves, Clara's mind raced with the implications of their quest. What if they found something? What if they awakened a force they could not control? She had to push these thoughts aside, focusing instead on the fire within her that had ignited during their gathering. They were no longer victims, they were warriors. As the group set off into the night, Clara led a small team into the heart of the woods, accompanied by Tomas, Elda, and a few others. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth and decaying leaves, the sounds of the forest amplified in the stillness. Each crunch of twigs beneath their feet echoed ominously, a reminder of the tension that lurked just beyond their sight. The deeper they ventured into the woods, the more the atmosphere shifted. Shadows elongated, twisting into unnatural shapes as the moonlight struggled to penetrate the thick canopy overhead. Clara's pulse quickened, her instincts warning her that they were not alone. "Stay close," she whispered, scanning the darkness for any sign of movement. "We need to remain vigilant." Suddenly, a low growl reverberated through the trees, sending chills racing down Clara's spine. The group froze, hearts pounding in unison. Tomas gripped her arm, his eyes wide with fear. "What was that?" he breathed, glancing around as if the trees themselves might respond. Before Clara could answer, the growl morphed into a haunting, otherworldly laugh that echoed through the clearing. It resonated with a malevolence that clawed at their resolve, making the hairs on the back of Clara's neck stand on end. "There!" Elda pointed, her voice steady despite the terror that gripped them all. "Look!" In the distance, a flicker of movement caught Clara's eye, dark shapes weaving between the trees, slipping in and out of sight. They were agile, almost ghost-like, moving with a fluidity that defied the very nature of the woods. "They're here," Clara whispered, feeling the weight of dread settle over her like a shroud. "The darkness has sent its minions." The group huddled closer, drawing strength from one another. "We need to keep moving," Tomas urged, his voice low but firm. "We can't let them surround us." Clara nodded, her resolve hardening. They pressed forward, each step taking them deeper into the realm of shadows. As they moved, Clara's thoughts churned with fear and determination. She could not let her village down. She had to find the source of the darkness and confront it before it consumed them all. Then, without warning, the air thickened, and a chilling breeze swept through the trees. The laughter returned, louder and more sinister, reverberating around them as if the forest itself had come alive with the dark energy that fed on their fears. "Stay together," Clara shouted, but her words barely broke through the suffocating atmosphere. The shadows flickered again, darting closer, their forms coalescing into something more tangible, more menacing. In that moment, Clara understood the truth. The darkness wasn't just a force. It was a reflection of their own fears, taking shape in the very heart of the woods. And it was hungry. With a surge of adrenaline, she steeled herself. "We can't let it win. We must confront it together." As if responding to her declaration, the shadows lunged forward, taking the shape of twisted, dark figures that snarled and hissed, ready to feast on the fear that pulsed in the air. Clara could feel the collective dread radiating from her companions, but she stood firm, refusing to yield to the darkness. "Remember what we've shared," she called out, forcing her voice to be heard over the chaos. "We have faced our fears. We will not allow it to consume us." Just as the shadows reached them, Clara drew upon the strength she had discovered during their gatherings. She focused on the unity they had forged, the bonds that had been strengthened through their shared stories. "Light!" she shouted, raising her hands towards the dark figures. "We stand together in light." In that moment, an incandescent glow emanated from the hearts of the villagers, pushing back against the encroaching shadows. The darkness recoiled, snarling and writhing as it met the brilliance of their unity. Clara felt the tide shifting. They were fighting back. With each breath, the light grew stronger, illuminating the woods and revealing the true forms of the shadows. Lost souls, twisted by their own fears, desperately seeking solace and connection. "Let them go!" Elda cried, her voice piercing through the din. "Release your fears. Find the light within you." As the villagers joined in, the air thrummed with energy, and the shadows began to dissipate, revealing glimpses of the spirits they once were. Clara realized then that they weren't just fighting for themselves. They were fighting for the lost souls trapped in the darkness, victims of their own despair. But even as the light expanded, Clara felt a ripple of dread. The true source of the darkness was still out there, hidden and waiting, biding its time for the moment of their greatest vulnerability. With renewed determination, Clara shouted above the chaos, "We must find the heart of the darkness." Together. As the villagers rallied, Clara led them deeper into the woods, their hearts alight with purpose and resolve. The battle had just begun, and the shadows still lingered, but they would not falter. They would uncover the truth and face whatever lay ahead, united against the encroaching storm. The air was electric with tension as Clara and her friends pressed deeper into the heart of the woods. The faint light from their lanterns flickered like dying stars against the encroaching darkness, illuminating a path that seemed to shift and swirl, leading them toward an unknown fate. Every rustle of leaves, every whisper of the wind felt charged with an ominous foreboding. "We're close," Clara whispered, her voice steady despite the rapid beating of her heart. "I can feel it." The intensity of their earlier victory still pulsed within her, but she knew this was only the beginning. They had uncovered the darkness, but now they had to confront it head-on. As they moved forward, the surroundings transformed into a twisted landscape of gnarled trees and unnaturally dark shadows. The air thickened, heavy with an oppressive weight that seemed to press against their chests, making it difficult to breathe. Clara's instincts screamed that they were entering the domain of the darkness itself. "Look!" Elda pointed ahead, her voice barely breaking the silence. In the distance, a pulsing light flickered, drawing them closer like a moth to a flame. But Clara felt a chill run down her spine. It was too alluring, too inviting, a trap set by the darkness. "Stay alert," Clara cautioned, tightening her grip on her lantern. "We can't let it manipulate us again." As they approached the light, Clara's mind raced with questions. What lay beyond? What truths had been buried within this darkness, waiting to be unearthed? She could sense a deep sorrow mingled with rage, as if the very essence of the forest was crying out for liberation.